All right, just connecting, and then I'll make sure that we're streaming onto Facebook. So I have to look back at my Facebook page. So just give me 1 second. I don't look at it that much because I can't, you don't want to either, right? Multitask.
Right.
So we're live. We've been live for 17 seconds. So let me just hit record. And good. Okay. I'm going to just drop this down a little bit. I know we're live on Facebook. Sorry, everyone. Okay. So welcome, everybody. I am Dr. Erica Vonderleeth, and I have Keri Cooper joining me today. I am a functional health and wellness expert and a chiropractor for over 25 years. And I help stressed out moms reset their metabolism and balance their hormones so they can have better energy, shed stubborn weight, and get a great night's sleep so they can stay sane and healthy. So I have a private Facebook group. I have a newsletter where I can share information with everybody. I have one-on-one programs, and I have these Facebook Lives so I can help really spread the message to help these overwhelmed moms create better strategies for their lives. So again, I have Keri Cooper here with me, and I'm just going to let Keri go ahead and introduce herself and what we're going to be talking about today. So I'm so excited. Thanks for joining me, Keri.
Thank you so much for having me. So I'm Keri Cooper. I'm a holistic psychotherapist, and I have a private practice in Ramsey. I specialize really with high school and college kids, and I work with depression, anxiety, overall coping skills. And I have to thank you so much for working with the moms on that end to trying to get them to de-stress, because I don't know if they always realize how much that actually impacts their kids. Right. And they're just trying to do everything and give everything, but the kids are sensing the stress, and they see how overwhelmed they are. So thank you so much on your end for trying to help them out, because it helps me out with the kids I'm working with.
Yeah. It's such a dynamic, right? That whole family dynamic. And this, our topic, right? Helping moms stay sane, in control, and calm during a quarantine and pandemic. It's still, we're coming up on, I don't know what the official year mark is, but it's been a year and we're still talking about it. And the impact, right? This is going to have far beyond when we start. I keep on saying, okay, things are going to open up soon, but it's still like people are still sick. People are still dying. People are still quarantining and isolated and feeling a lot of stress surrounding, what's going on in this world right now. So I'm really happy to be talking about, strategies to help with moms, with families, and with kids, right? So even though, right. So that's your specialty, and we are going to really dive deep into your specialty because it's so important and so needed right now. So do you want to just hit the bullets, like main bullets of kind of what we want to help people with today?
I mean, I think the first thing is that everybody really needs to understand we're in a pandemic, and this is not easy. This is not like we're just supposed to be living our life the way we did over a year ago. Yeah. So much has changed for us. And the whole family, dynamic has really changed too. Parents are now, who used to go out of the house for work, are now home working. They're trying to manage that. They're trying to manage kids who are maybe at home on Zooms. I mean, parents who used to at least be able to send their kids off to school, get a few minutes of, peace and quiet. They don't have that anymore. Right. And people need like alone time, and they're not having that. Everybody's at home right now. And that's a huge struggle. I mean, I have moms say to me all the time, like, I just need 5 minutes. I just need 5 minutes. And yeah, you do need 5 minutes. So sometimes you just need to get outside and take that walk and put you first and know that you're going to come back much calmer. But it's such a hard time right now. And, people, I think, are still beating themselves up thinking how they should be handling life. But that mentality is from a pre-pandemic mentality. We're now like,
which was stressful before, right? We thought it was stressful before.
Right. Absolutely. And now this is so much harder. I mean, also consider all the families who used to rely on grandparents for help and, you know, neighbors for help, and none of that's happening anymore. We're social creatures.
Carpooling or whatever. Yeah.
Absolutely. We're social creatures and we really depend on each other and need each other. I mean, moms would go out for coffee or brunch and be able to talk and vent, and that's not happening right now.
Right. Get that rush of whatever, endorphins, oxytocin, whatever, that's going to help calm our fight or flight response also.
Right. So absolutely, everybody feels like they're in fight.
Right. I don't think people should underestimate, like, take 5 minutes, go outside. At least it's a little nicer now, right? I went for a walk today and it was sunny. But what a difference just 1 minute will do, one deep, relaxing breath, 3, 5 minutes, whatever, it will, right? It will make a world of difference.
It makes a huge difference. Even if that means, you know, hiding in your bedroom and doing a 5-minute meditation. Those 5 minutes will bring you back and ground you. When your stress level is so high, you're not thinking clearly. You're just tunnel vision almost.
Right.
And you're going. And eventually you lose steam because you can't keep it up at that level.
No.
And then it's so hard to gain any type of motivation. It's so hard to actually prioritize and get things done. You know, we talk about moms being, you know, still so incredibly busy, but so much of the day, is it really productive? Are they scrolling through Facebook? Are they
That's
just
my
trying
biggest,
to engage? So when you're
because you're like you said, a social creature. So you want that social engagement, but then you find yourself, oh my God, what am I doing? I just wasted a half an hour, whatever, on Instagram or Facebook. So that is something I talk about very frequently. I'm always busy. But what's the difference between busy and productive?
100%. And to actually look at your schedule and say, okay, what do I need to get done today before I pick up my phone and start scrolling through Instagram and Facebook? Because what happens is when we start scrolling, we lose sense of time. And then at the end of the day, we're feeling unproductive because we didn't get anything done and we don't feel accomplished. And then unfortunately, we're beating ourselves up. I should have done this. I should have done that. So I always think having an actual plan of attack for the day is so crucial. You need to have your daily to-do list. What must get done? Not what would you like to get done? What must get done that day? And that's what you have to tackle first. And then you have your weekly plan as well. What do I need to get done this week? So on a day that's maybe not so crazy, you're able to then start tackling those tasks.
Okay.
And then your monthly goals too. And sometimes it's okay to move those goals to the next month. It doesn't always happen. But I definitely think making like bullet points on your calendar every single day, 3 things that I have to get done today. And you also need to factor in time to take care of you. That is crucial. That cannot wait till the end of the day when you're exhausted and already wiped out.
So schedule that in. Schedule in self-care.
And schedule it in first. Or as soon as you can throughout the day. Because you know what happens with busy moms. Oh yeah, I'm going to work out today. I'm going to meditate today. And then this happens and then that happens. And you're, you know, doing 10 different things. And all of a sudden it's 8 o'clock at night.
Right. I like to get them done in the morning. And oftentimes it's very helpful for me to make that schedule the night before, right? So that you can maybe, I don't know, jot things down, you get it off your list and you sleep a little better because you already like kind of started writing things down. You can always add stuff the next day. And then, so I'm going to do that. Make a must have at least 3 bullet points every day, and then week and month, but also the act of crossing things off your list gives you that, you know, that dopamine rush and that little boost of, oh, all right, I'm doing all right, you know?
It's so satisfying to cross something off the list. You feel so accomplished and you're like, I did it.
So whether you put it on your device or written down, like written down totally, you know, works also for sure.
Yeah. I
love that.
That's what I do. I have my big, you know, calendar and I use Post-it notes a lot. So, because I can't quite fit everything on those little blocks. So I just do a Post-it note for every day and I'll actually take that Post-it note with me in the car. You know, what errands do I need to run? And I kind of just hold that with me all day long. That way I stay really focused. Yeah.
Little reminder. And then you don't get sucked into your phone by looking on your list on your phone. So that's a good idea.
Right.
I like that.
Absolutely. And the
Mhm.
other thing I always say, when you're looking at your month, are you finding time to interact? However that may be, whether it be, a Zoom call, whether it be, a social distancing walk outside, are you finding some type of time to connect with people that you care about and who really fill you up?
Right.
Because you need that.
Yeah. And maybe that's not always your family. I always think, okay, just
Right.
have family time, right? But most people are just around their family all the time.
Mhm.
So maybe it's something outside. At least we can start to go outside now too, right? So maybe it's someone outside your immediate household or family, as long as
Mhm.
it's safe, right?
Right. But you could definitely socially distance and walk and just still have that person there. But trying to connect with people the best you possibly can at this point is really important. And even if that's, setting up a FaceTime and you both have your cup of coffee and you're just,
Yeah.
talking about your day, that's okay. Having a dinner
Right.
date over FaceTime is fine too.
Mm-hmm.
So I think one of the nice things is that we've really learned to get creative with how to interact with people. But it's
Mm-hmm.
important to make sure that over that month that is happening. And I also really like that, an idea of over that month, making sure that you're actually doing something special with your kids one-on-one if you have multiple. And that doesn't mean you have to even leave the house,
Mm-hmm.
but it's, I'm going to game night with this kid on this day. Because although we're together all the time, how much are we really connecting?
Yeah. Right. And you have how many kids?
I have 4.
Yeah. So that's, something that you really do have to schedule out. So if you could do it with 4 kids, I only have
Mm-hmm.
one in the house now, so I should be doing that. And, that time besides being on the screen too, I feel like that's kind of what everyone is. Whether it's, we're learning or we're doing our school, but just the social interaction, everything's like screen, screen, screen.
Yes.
So how do you get away from that?
It's so challenging, but I know like for our family, it's family dinners, it's cooking together, it's baking, it's playing, board games. And with my friends, it's like, okay, we're going to go sit outside for a little bit and just be like, hey, how are you doing?
Yeah.
Because it is different just seeing somebody physically and not on a screen.
Yes. Yes. Zoom and FaceTime has been totally helpful in saving a lot of people, especially
Absolutely.
like, the grandparents and the people who are really isolated. But
Mhm.
yeah, just getting that outside, real person interaction.
Yes, it's really important. And also just being outside.
Yeah.
And now that the weather's getting nicer, it's wonderful. Go outside, take one of your kids out for a walk around the block.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of
Fresh
coming back to like the
air.
simple things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love, 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 love being outside. And there's, that, that, that daytime sun. Again, I
Mhm.
always get back to, because I'm like the physiology part of it, increasing our serotonin, which
Yes.
helps with melatonin. So that daytime sun's going to not only help with our mood, but it's going to help with our sleep and our immune system. So, it's important to get that sunlight.
100%. I tell actually all the kids I work with, I'm like, you're like a house plant with emotions. You need sun, you need water, you need food. Like these are basics. You have to make sure that's happening in order to feel well.
Yes. Yes. And I know I didn't want to dive that deep in terms of the basics, right? Your foundations are obviously good nutrition, good optimal sleep, and making sure you're hydrated. Were those like at least your basic
Absolutely.
3? So
Absolutely.
I don't want to gloss over that and underestimate that at all, because the standard American diet is very sad, right? That's what we call it. And if we're feeding our bodies with fast foods and carbs and pizza and sugary drinks and desserts all the time, it's really going to wreak havoc on our emotions. So
100%. It impacts us. We have to take good care of ourselves.
yeah, yeah. So I know that is definitely part of your
Mhm.
protocols and your programs.
Mhm.
I don't want to say it's a given now, but what else? What other really great actionable advice do you have for
I
us?
think one of the other things that I do want to touch base on is because this was a real struggle, especially in the beginning of the pandemic. It went for the kids, but it also went for the parents because they're modeling this behavior. But many times I would say, what brings you joy? What makes you happy? And I'd get the blank stare, like, I don't know. Okay, well, now we have all this time to kind of dive in and figure it out. I love to see moms have their outlet, have their hobby, have what they enjoy, because then the kids see that.
Right.
And the kids are like, oh, and it comes back to, the screen time again. Oh, they don't need to be on a screen time to occupy themselves. They're doing this. And I think one of the things that I've encouraged a lot of parents to do is, when you're sitting down in your living room, instead of taking your phone, take a book, start reading, like real books.
Right.
And, have that time with your kids, just have books around.
Right.
But, whether it's, you're figuring out, new different types of fun cuisine to make with your family and having the kids really engage with that as well. But finding something that you love to do is so important right now. I had some people who were like, I'm just going to learn a new language. And I was like, yes, go for it. Like something that makes you happy. So I want to make sure that moms especially are realizing that when they're finding hobbies, that's not selfish. That is actually what's going to fill them up, make them a better mom, and model excellent behavior for their kids.
Yeah, I don't know what goes through moms' heads where they're thinking they feel guilty, right? About spending time on themselves or having that be something that's selfish. I don't know where does that come from,
I think it's from this, idea that as a mom, we're just supposed to be there for everybody else and we're just supposed to do for everybody else. But you can't do for anybody if you're not taking care of you. It doesn't work.
Right.
And even if you think it's working, you're modeling that behavior to your children. This constant busy, and not even being productive and so stressed out because you said yes to a million commitments that you really don't even want to do. And as somebody who works, especially with the teenage and college age girls, they feel very bad saying no to people.
Right.
And they're getting this because they're watching their parents, especially their moms, constantly saying yes.
Right. And do we want our daughters or sons, right, to be feeling that pressure, right? Because then they're coming to you, right? Because they're having so much pressure and anxiety, depression, other things, right? More serious problems that they're just not coping with at all.
And they're not putting themselves first. They're putting everybody else's emotions first. It's a huge issue I'm seeing lately. And they're really just modeling what they're seeing at home.
Yeah. And so we're so quick to say, well, you just need to make time for yourself, right? And then we just have to be that better role model. So
Absolutely.
True. Yeah. So true. And not do as I say, do as I do or something like that.
Right. I mean, kids do not really listen to the words that we say, but they do what we do.
Right.
So when you're telling your kids, eat better, exercise, get outside, you need to be walking the walk and doing all of that stuff too.
Yeah. And I sometimes find it easier just to zip it and just do it,
Absolutely.
Because then you're just a nag and they're not like really listening to you. I mean, they are, but they're not. And I always feel like, okay, they're going to come around, right? You keep on modeling that behavior. You keep on showing them, the positive. And at some point, they're going to come around. It's sinking in little by little. Yeah.
You just have to keep doing it. But I think that it's also going back to, making time and being productive. Like so many parents are like, my kid's not motivated. They're not doing anything. They're just wasting time. And it comes back again to modeling like, okay, this is my list. This is what I want to get done today. And to encourage your kids to make lists as well. And I know some families function really well on like a very strict schedule and other families do not function well on a schedule. And that's fine either way. But to be able to make sure that you're being productive and that things are happening every day. And I think another piece of that is to have your kids help out more at home. And I think that really helps the moms not be so stressed and overburdened. You can give your kids this gift of telling them that they can do their own laundry and that they can cook a meal and that they can clean up. And this is really empowering stuff and it's life skills.
Right. Yeah, I totally believe in that. I feel like I've been doing that with my kids and And again, someday they'll realize, why do I have to do my own laundry? When they get to college, oh, I know how to do my own laundry. The person down the hall doesn't know how to do laundry.
Yes.
So they maybe a little bit more appreciative at some point, comes around.
Yeah.
And then not feel guilty about, can you unload the dishwasher? Can you pick up the dog poop? Can you vacuum the floor or whatever? I think one of my biggest things is the screen time. I know you already said model the behavior, but should we as parents, because I'm talking about this, right? Because it stresses me out that maybe I'm on the screen too much, but also like, does everything have to, let me look that up. Okay. All right. What was the name of that? Let me go, and you should see this TikTok. Everything, is around the phone and the screen. So, and it's always like no phones at the table, whatever. But now it's like, I'm getting up and I'm going over there into the kitchen to look at something. And then I'm sitting back down, but there's no phone at the table. So I don't, do I have to say, put it in the drawer, turn it off? I don't know what to do about that.
It's hard because, you could only do the best you can do. But I think if you have some type of restrictions and some type of rules, it's, a huge positive. So yeah, no phones at the dinner table or lunch table or breakfast table ever should be, pretty much a standard rule in everyone's household. You want to be able to engage at those family meals. I know for me, we keep all screens in the kitchen at all times. So you can talk in the kitchen or in one of the common areas, but there are no screens in bedrooms because that is when you lose them and you don't see them for, 5 hours.
So do you have a hardcore cutoff at when you're going to allow the kids to have their screens? Because my daughter's doing her classes in her bedroom. So, when you're going to allow them to have that in their bedroom? Do your kids all do their school on the kitchen table? Or?
They're all at the kitchen counter. One of them is in the dining room and one of them is in the office downstairs.
Yeah.
Because just 4 people in the kitchen didn't make sense. It got too loud.
Right.
And I think, the younger they are, the easier it is to enforce these rules. Absolutely. And also the reality is, as these kids get older, you have less of a say. And you can only hope that you've modeled good behavior and that you've kind of given them the skills to know what to do with those phones. But I also, like, even for myself, my phone, when I'm charging it, it's in the kitchen. It is not in my bedroom overnight. And I was like, well, what if there's an emergency? I'm like, my husband has his phone, but I don't keep my phone up there. Because we are so dependent on them. We can't just shut them off at night. If something happens, someone's going to call you by your cell phone. But really with your kids, there's no emergency happening overnight that they need their phones in their room.
Right.
And I think parents underestimate how much it's affecting their sleep as well.
Right. Because you think you can be diligent and have willpower, but you just can't. I mean, it's just a fact, I think,
Yes.
And
our kids' brains aren't even fully developed until, mid-20s. And this technology, it doesn't, mix well with an undeveloped brain.
Yeah.
They do, sometimes not the smartest of things. And when they're able to instantly capture that, problems happen.
Yeah.
So lots of trouble. So that's why it's always a good idea, especially when they're younger, keep the phones in a common room as much as possible. When your kids are going off to college, you don't have much of a say then. I mean, yes, not the family dinner table, but besides that, you've moved past that stage at that point.
Yeah. I kept it out of their bedrooms as long as I could. But yeah, I know not anymore. At least my daughter's a junior and then Lexi's a freshman in college. So at least got it earlier than Lexi, because I think Lexi finally, like maybe this summer before she left for college, I'm like, all right, you can have it in your bedroom now. But at least she's a junior and she's already, so yeah, I think that's a really good idea. And you'll get a lot of pushback as your kids get older, but I think it's a really good idea, because I'm like, there's no need for it, if you can give me a good reason. Yeah.
Right. And I think, the other issue with the phone, I know we're talking a lot about phones, but I think it just really does impact the moms and the kids and the entire family. One of the other issues with the phone is that we're surfing social media, and everyone's life on social media just looks so perfect. And then it's, that
Mhm.
comparing, and it's like, well, why aren't I doing that? Why don't I look like that? And it's, the beating yourself up and not realizing that these are people, put their best self out there on social media, but that's not their real life.
Right. Right.
And I think it affects moms just as much as it, really affects the kids as well.
Oh my gosh, of course. Yes.
Mhm.
For sure. I don't know if your husband's on. My husband's, he's not really on social media. He can't be bothered. And I know some men are, obviously, but yeah, I mean, the women and the kids are just, engulfed in it. It's sucked right in.
Yes. Yes.
Not to say that, men aren't, but, Okay, so don't compare yourself. Definitely. Realistic
Mhm.
expectations, right?
Right.
Um, I think you had mentioned like something about tips on help to not have it feel so big. Was that more of the scheduling thing or?
I think it's more of the scheduling thing. And I think it's also at some point, we just have to be kind to ourselves and realize this is not a normal situation. And to
Mhm.
really kind of remind ourselves of that on a daily basis. This is not normal.
Yeah.
And our lives have been kind of turned upside down. So we shouldn't try to, put expectations on us that we had a year ago.
Right. Right. Well, and so this has been going on now for quite some time. And I know that your practice, unfortunately, or fortunately for your practice, but unfortunately for our society, your practice, you're like overbooked.
Yes.
So, and this has already really affected people, immensely. So I know that we're going to have to deal with these emotional and mental health issues, for a lot of years after this. But what do you suggest to people, women, really in this case, right? Because that's what we're talking about, who are already like feeling so depressed and anxious, and it's just like beyond stress, right? It gets into depression, and I talk a lot about like the fight or flight response, cortisol, but it's different hormones and brain neurotransmitters. So it's really a balance of a lot of stuff in your body. But yeah, what do you feel like any coping strategies for that whole feelings of, depression and isolation?
Right. I mean, definitely like start reaching out to people the best you can, which we talked about. You have to find something that you're enjoying on a daily basis, something that brings you joy to kind of build you up. But you
Mm,
also need to take time for yourself, and whether that be exercise, meditation, you need to do what works for you. Because
right.
like you just described, the cortisol levels are just through the roof, and then they're just getting shot. Like you need
Mhm.
to bring that fight or flight response down. You need to be able to bring the anxiety down. And, there's a ton of telehealth right now as well for mental health. Reach out.
Right.
Everybody is struggling. Don't be ashamed to reach out. Like this is a tough time for everybody. So get the help,
Yeah.
get the tools that are going to help you. That way you could just, be happy and function better. But
I can't stress that. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't want to interrupt you.
no, go
I
ahead.
want you to finish what you were going to say. That was
Um,
it.
it's just not healthy to live
Yeah.
with this anxiety. It affects every part of you. And I think so many times moms don't even realize that, they complain, and I'm sure you hear this complain about, something hurting or,
Yeah.
you know, constantly getting sick, and it's stress. It's all stress.
Yes. Yes. And I definitely take symptoms into consideration. You take it even further, questionnaire, and there's functional lab tests for that. But yeah, it basically affects like everything, whether it's your brain and in terms of anxiety, depression, brain fog, forgetfulness. But yeah, your immune system, joint pain, digestive problems, blood sugar problems, high blood pressure. Everyone knows like stress causes high blood pressure, but it's a normal response until it's not normal anymore, right? Our body's like doing what it's supposed to be doing, but we're not supposed to have this chronic stress. I digress. What I was going to say earlier is I couldn't agree more. And what really upsets me, right, is that I try to have these conversations with people that I love, with my friends, with women, that I don't want them to think, oh, she's talking about this again, that are not, I wish I could do that. I wish I could put myself on the list, because they're going, and they're just not doing it, right? So you need to get with a practitioner like you, find a tribe that's supportive, be in some groups that are really going to help you, reach out to friends, like you said. I mean, you have to start somewhere because nothing's going to change unless something changes. Right.
Absolutely. I mean, what I keep on saying is like, your life is not on pause. So although there's a pandemic, you have to be able to fill yourself up with joy. You can't wait till this is over to be happy again. You have to find the happiness, even with this happening. And there are some really good parts of this. We've all of a sudden had to slow down. We've all of a sudden not have to, bring our kids to 20 different practices a day. We've been able to have family dinners, to, bake bread and, get dogs like everyone did over the pandemic. Like there's some good stuff happening.
Focus on the good, right?
You got to focus on the good and really realize that this isn't going to last forever. I know it's been a year. I know it's been so hard for so many people because there's so many layers. There's financial issues that I know people are struggling with, and job security, and homeschooling and virtual schooling, and it's not easy at all. But I think it's so important for the moms to realize you're not alone. We're all feeling this. Reach out. Reach out and take care of yourself, because if you're not taking care of yourself, nothing else in your home will work.
Yes. That whole, I said every time, right? Apply your oxygen mask first. They tell you that. That's a rule on the plane. It should be a rule of life. And yeah, I mean, if you aren't putting yourself on the list, if you're not taking care of yourself, then how are you going to help the people that you love? So important. But I feel the opposite, like it's changing. You said they have more time to do X, Y, Z. I feel like people are busier and still need to find, that 5 minutes or whatever, or something, like you said, the joy. And, that's important, because you don't want to be on that, downward spiral. You got to find that gratitude and find the little things, right?
Absolutely. I love that you just brought up gratitude. It is so important.
Yeah.
And I think, kind of every night, before we go to sleep, just kind of thinking about like, okay, what was good about today?
Yeah.
To remind us like, no, it was a good day. There were good moments. Maybe not everything was great, but there were good moments in it.
Yeah. Right. And find like, gosh, all these yoga studios right now, whether they're in person a little bit or, I know Shri has a book club. Where do you do yoga?
I'm right now doing it in my basement.
Okay. I don't know if you were hooked up with the studio, but they have all of these really great, tribes that they're talking about all of this stuff. Like I used to be the person, because I've had a couple yoga instructors on. I used to be that person, like, all right, hurry up, let's get started, and then I didn't want to lie in Shavasana at the end. And you don't realize how much that is helpful, right? But these tribes are there, like the book clubs are free, and just find something, right?
Absolutely. And I think this has been, an important time to really also find who's in your community that you can kind of connect with and just talk to. And I feel like there's more chatter amongst moms and communities now, whether it just be, texting or in group messaging, and just trying to talk to each other about, hey, how's everyone doing right now? Because everyone knows it's tough.
Right. Yeah. So you have your little group text with your Park Ridge moms in your kids' grade, or maybe your other kids' grade, and maybe your friends from college or high school. So yeah, I love that.
I've connected more with my friends from college during this pandemic than I have in years, because it's like, oh, let's do a Zoom, let's do a coffee, like let's sit down and talk to each other. They live all over the country, so it's kind of been great.
Right. Yeah, really great. Okay. Anything else you wanted to? I'm looking at my list. How it's children. Schedules, hot math. Okay. Yeah. And especially, gosh, how parents are modeling to impact their children. That's so important.
Yeah. And what I always, I like to do is I will look at my screen time at the end of the day and be really honest with myself about it. And there are times when absolutely it scares me. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Yeah.
But if we're not looking, we're just kind of having our head in the sand and we're not realizing what's happening. Lots of times actually when the kids come to see me towards the end of the session, I'm like, what was your screen time today? And they'll pull it up and it's scary. But to be honest with yourself about it, I think so many moms are like, no, I'm not really wasting time. No, look, because you are.
And the iPhones, at least, I don't know about the other phones, break it down for you. So you could be total screen time, but then it breaks it down between what apps you're using. And because I'm like, oh, I was probably listening, to a podcast, or actually listen to a lot of things on Facebook. So that might, add up screen time. But I do that with my daughter too. And so she has that, mental check-in. And then before I asked her, I don't know if you do this with your kids, it's like, how many hours of screen time do you think is appropriate for the day? So they can answer you first. And then we go and look. Your kid's already looking. So, and then kind of have them set that up for themselves. So you're not saying, well, it should only be 2 hours.
Absolutely. The more empowered they could feel with being in charge of their phone and their screen time, the better.
Yeah.
And you'll see they'll actually, respond to it so much better. And if they say 3 hours, they're really pretty on top of it then to try to make it just 3 hours and nothing more. They feel more responsible.
Do you have a number? Do you have a number for kids? It probably depends on the ages too. But
it depends heavily on the ages. And with the springtime coming, especially the younger kids, they need to be outside, not in front of a screen. I'm personally very, very strict with screen time. And, we just noticed recently the screen time went up dramatically. And I was like, what happened?
Yeah. Just looking at their phone screen time, you mean?
Yeah. And then I realized, I've been working more lately and there's been, a babysitter here and that's what's happening.
Yeah.
So trying to rein that back in. And we had conversations, honest conversations, look at your screen time. Do you think this is healthy? What else can you be doing throughout the day? And I've asked my kids, what do you want to do? What kind of goals do you want to complete during this pandemic? And, some of them were pretty cool. My son wanted to get his boating license, which is all done online. And I'm like, all right,
How old is he?
He's going to be 14 and you can get your boating license for the state of New York. So he is doing his boating course right now. And I actually did mine too during the beginning of the pandemic.
Oh, cool. Do you guys have a boat?
We do. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
My husband had the license. So it's finding those strange, random things to do. Sometimes really works.
Yeah, it's a struggle for me, I feel. I'm always like, what about this? What about this? But at least, track started for my daughter, Elise. So that's good.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we had the snow. So it was like, tubing and snowman. But I'm like, oh, maybe you're too old for that now. I wish we could go out and do more of that.
I know. The tubing was
evolved.
Great for kids this winter and just, going out and playing in the snow. But spring is coming. It's coming. And I think it's going to get easier once spring happens and we can get outside more. And, if you look back to the beginning of this pandemic, the first 2 weeks were fantastic for so many people. They're like, this is great. It's like a 2-week vacation and we're going to get all this great stuff done. And we're going to have dinner every night together. And I'm going to clean out my closets. And they felt so productive. And then of course it didn't stop after 2 weeks. And that's when it got hard.
Yeah. I mean, I have older teenagers, and I can't imagine how hard it is for the moms of younger kids, if you work, if you don't work, I guess if you work, I mean, just trying to juggle all that. It's a lot. So,
right. And that's, that's one thing that kind of really has united all of the working moms and, stay-at-home moms, that this is hard for everyone across the board. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Right. Right. Well, that's what we're kind of here to help with, right? Create those healthier habits, and habits like little things, right? Little things add up to massive changes. That's kind of like my message, in my newsletters, stuff like that. It doesn't have to be exercise for an hour on the treadmill and go out for like a boot camp class. It could just be 5 minutes, and then build up from there and do those little habitual deep breathings, gratitudes, meditations, whatever, bedtime routine. And it really adds up. And
It does. And it really changes
pays,
you.
yeah, pays off. It really does.
It does. You know, I can't sit down for 30 minutes and meditate. I don't have this time. You know, I have other things that I would prefer to do for myself as well. So I try to get in a 5-minute meditation, and those 5 minutes are fantastic. And it's just what I need.
And there's free apps, right?
Yes, I have a favorite one. I love the free app called Insight Timer. You could filter it by time. They even have some progressive muscle relaxation on that one, which I really enjoy. And my kids will actually do that at bedtime too.
They've added a lot of stuff to that app.
Yeah,
I love that app.
I actually, before the pandemic hit, I started doing the meditation in my car while I was waiting at pickup. And I was like, people probably think I am insane right now, like sitting in my car with my eyes closed and my meditation going. But it was the perfect window of time.
It's perfect. And you know what? You do that instead of, all right, let me just scroll through my Facebook feed while I'm waiting for my kids, right? What a difference if that's going to make you a little bit more frantic versus let me just relax for a second.
Absolutely. The end result is when I then get out of the car to go get my kids, I was either, you know, fired up over something that I saw on social media or upset about something, opposed to now taking 5 minutes to meditate. And now I greet them with a huge smile. And I'm like, hey, how was your day?
Yeah. Yeah. I took 3 relaxing breaths before this call.
See? Yeah, it's great.
It helps.
It's the small stuff. And it's just remembering that like you are worth it and you have to put yourself first in order to help everyone else.
Yeah. Right. That's great. And you know what, even if we repeated a few things, all of this is worth repeating, gosh, because I know people hear it, just like our kids, right? We repeat a lot of things and it doesn't always stick the first time. And this is so important. So important. So is there anything else you wanted to add, Keri?
Just be kind to yourself. Be kind. It's not easy. You know, you're doing the best you can, and take time for you.
Right.
And again, reach out if you need help.
Yes. And, you know, speaking of that, I want you to let our listeners know how they can get in touch with you, how they can work with you. You know, you have a lot to offer. I know you said that your practice is, you know, busy right now. That's probably because you're so awesome. So yeah, can you just let people know how they can get in touch with you and work with you?
Sure. The easiest way is probably going onto my website, Keri Cooper Holistic Therapy. And I work with people in a few different ways. One is just individual therapy, and that's normally with my high school and college kids. And yeah, right now that's pretty full, but it changes, you know, every few weeks. The other way, and this is kind of a unique thing that I do, is I do a parent strategy session. So, you know, parents will come into my office or telehealth, they'll come in and I'll say, okay, it's a 2-hour session. What's working in your family? What's not working in your family? What do you want to see improved? And we really draw out a whole roadmap of what the parents need to do to get there. And
with the kids or without the kids?
Without the kids. Without the kids. I mean, we talk a lot about either just one child or kind of all the kids and all the different needs and how to work all of that together into kind of a family plan. So because every family is so unique, it doesn't matter how many parenting books you read, every family is unique and all the parts of the family are unique. So to be able to sit with a professional and say, okay, this is where we're struggling with this child or that child and overall as a family, and to really be able to find some, you know, ways to be able to fix all of that and to be able to get back on track. And they literally leave my office with like a list of like, okay, we're going to do this and this and this. And then they check in with me a few weeks later and just to make sure everything's going according to plan and that nobody hit any, you know, road bumps. And it's really kind of life-changing for these families to be able just to sit down and say, what does my family need and how do I get there?
Right. And like I said, we need this so much, like more than ever right now. So that's great that you have, you know, this to offer the kids and the families. Is it in person? Is it telehealth? Is it both?
It's both at this point.
Mhm.
So it's really whatever they're comfortable with. You know, I'm very
Mhm.
fortunate that I have a very large office space. So you could actually even socially distance in my office, which is
Great,
nice.
great.
Mhm.
And that's the office in Ramsey.
Yes.
Because I don't know why I thought were you at home for a while? Did you have home office space or no?
So
You
I
did.
wasn't seeing people at my home, but I was working from home.
Telehealth. Okay.
Absolutely. Especially when all of this, started happening.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's so great. And we need more practitioners like you. You take a holistic approach, you take a whole family approach, not just, working with the kids and, really finding what works for the whole family dynamic. And yeah, I really we'll need this now. We'll need this in the future. So
Yeah.
I am going to make sure that you share in the comments maybe, or maybe you could also share it with me and I'll share it in the description, your web site address, and I'll edit the description and I'll put it there.
Sure.
You can also put it in the comments.
Mhm.
Doesn't hurt to put it in both places.
Okay.
So if anyone needs any more information, feel free to send me a message or a comment. If you want to, do you have a newsletter or anything, Keri?
I do not.
I know you have a blog, so you can always check out Keri's
Yes.
blog on her website. But I was going to say, if you want to subscribe to my newsletter or my Facebook groups, you can send me a direct message, or I'll also put a link to those in the description also. So awesome. Thank you so much, Keri. It was
Thank
so
you.
helpful. I asked questions that were, relevant to me. So I hope that helps other moms and families out there as well. So I appreciate you coming on with me tonight, because I know you're busy with your 4 kids and your family. So
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy that you're doing all this work with these moms because they just really need it. So
thank
thank
you.
you for taking care of them.
Thank you. Likewise. All right. So I'd love to have you again, hopefully, maybe not anytime soon, but in the future. But thank you again so much, and hope everyone has a great night. If you are watching us live, oh, I didn't look at these comments, but it says, oh, lots of great information, ladies. This is so helpful. Thank you. Oh, that's so nice. Thank you,
Oh,
guys.
wonderful.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna put a recording. This will be recording, and I'll share this with you, and you could share this with
Perfect.
your tribe as well. All right.
Perfect.
Have a great night, everyone. Take care. Let me just see how I can stop this.